it is finally upon us. The self-titled Dream Theater album is finally here, and I just can't wait any longer to talk about it. I'm Chainsaw, and this is my review of this monster of an album. I do want to mention real quick that I do have my computer in front of me, because I do not want to screw up song titles when I start talking about some of the songs on this album, because there is just some moments I really have to talk about. So anyways, let's continue on with this review. So the first thing I do want to mention is that this is the first official time we get to see the new drummer, Mike Mangini, who's not really new anymore. We get to see his writing techniques. We get to see his writing capabilities with the rest of the band officially on this brand new self-titled release. Now, some of you are saying, well, he played on Dramatic Turn of Events 2011 release. Yes, but those drum parts were already written by John Petrucci. He did not write any of the parts. Mike Mangini, he did say in some spots, and the other band members said that he did do some switching up here or there, but overall, the main drum parts throughout the whole entire album, Mike Mangini just copied and pasted live in the studio. But now we get to see him writing with the rest of the band. And I will have to say this, he fits so well with the rest of the band. You hear that throughout. The drum sound he chose for this is just superb. His drumming techniques, his style really fits alongside the rest of the band. And you really get to just see that and really hear that and really go, this is a great fit, because throughout the whole entire album, there's so many interesting drum parts that really catch your attention and really pull you in on top of everything else that's happening on throughout the tracks. But Mike Mangini, I will have to say right off the bat, did an amazing job. The drum sound is just epic, and what he did throughout this album is just superb, excellent. Whatever words you can come up with that describe epicness, excellent, all those things. So Mike Mangini did a great job. So some interesting other things about some of the songs on this album is that the first song is 2 minutes and 42 seconds long, and it's an opener. There's no vocals from James, and we really get to see kind of the sound they're going for, because we get to hear the drums, the bass, the guitars, the keyboards, and we get kind of a vibe of how this album's going to go, because we have a part where it's very heavy, very riff punched, and then we have another section where it's kind of slowed down, pulled back, and overall we get kind of a mixture of what we're going to expect on this album, because this album isn't just a 100% progressive metal heavy hitting record. This album is just filled with a bunch of varieties, a bunch of different changes, and overall just a bunch of different styles of writing from this band. And we've seen this before, but we get to experience this on another level, because now we have a new drummer, and we get to see the band just continue to come up with these really unique ideas. So this album is just filled with a variety of things. So if you're a fan of the huge variety of stuff that Dream Theater is known to do, the epic melodic stuff, or the epic melodies, or the epic ballads, or the epic heaviness of their past stuff, and you enjoy the mixture of both worlds, then this album is for you. And if you're really just more of a fan of the heavier stuff, or you're just really more of a fan of the epic ballads, or the melodies, or basically the slower tracks, then there's parts of this album where you're not going to like. But if you're a fan of both those worlds, this album is for you. And I want to go on and continue. False Awakening Suite, which is the opener I just talked about, leads into this first single we heard, which is The Enemy Inside. Great lead in, really sets you up kind of what this album's going to be, then it hits you with The Enemy Inside, which we've already heard, but it was nice to hear that that was the song leading into the single. Enigma Machine, which is the second instrumental, really showcases the technicality of this band, and it gets to showcase some of the slower melodic ballady type side of Dream Theater. The opener is a monster crunch, and it's just really epic sounding, and I kept repeating that beginning part back, like, wow, and just really just focused on this huge variety of changes within this short amount of time, really, for a Dream Theater track. We're used to Dream Theater tracks being super long, 10 plus, 15 plus, 20 plus minutes, but yet this track isn't even hitting close to the 10-minute mark at all. And so we get to just hear all these different variety of things, basically in a very short amount of time, comparing it to other long tracks that we've heard before from Dream Theater. The only track that does actually cross over 10 minutes and actually crosses over barely 20 minutes is the ending, Illumination Theory, 22 minutes and 17 seconds. And then this is where things get really, not say crazy, but very interesting, because before we get to the 9th track, which has 5 different parts, The first 8 tracks really have that variation of there's an instrumental, there's actually 2 if you count the opener. We get to see James with his vocal style, we get to hear his lyrical content, his voice, which still stands out. We'll get to that in a second. We get to hear John Petrucci like go just all crazy with the crunchy guitars, the melodic, the crazy technical solos, the melodic solos, the beautiful guitar sound. We get to hear also John on bass, really giving some different types of bass stuff, playing some different parts than what John Petrucci's playing on guitar. We get to hear his epic bass sound. We get to hear Jordan's amazing keyboard. But the final track, Illumination Theory, I really have to talk about because it gets very interesting. It's 22 minutes and 17 seconds, and there's parts where there's not a lot happening in some certain sections where it's kind of the transition from the one part to another part. There's a part in the middle of that track. I'm not going to explain exactly why I'm saying this because it's one of those things where you have to hear it yourself in order to really catch that vibe. But the vibe I was getting through the middle of this track, which is one of the sections that's a part of this big track, is that it sounds like it came from a movie. It sounds like something you would hear in a movie, maybe something you'd hear that's opening up a really epic movie, or maybe something that's opening up a war that's about to happen, or something sad's happened. It's really hard to place because there's different sections throughout this little piece that sounds like something from a movie, and then the rest of the track has some interesting standout points. The opening is monstrous as well, and that track just blows me away. I had to repeat that track at least 3 times to really understand what the band was trying to accomplish, and what they accomplished was this epic track that just stands out. Honestly, if they would have made this track longer, I would not have been bothered by that. I wouldn't have mattered because the tracks before it don't even get close to the 10-minute mark, yet this is 22 minutes. If they would have made this track 30 plus minutes and everything else is still under, a certain amount of time, under 10 minutes, I think it would have been more epic, would have been more crazy, would have went in these all new different directions. But I will have to say my favorite track is definitely Illumination Theory because all of the 5 different parts really make this song go from insane technical to beautiful to very peaceful, then to some more craziness here or there. And really you just get to see the experience of how Dream Theater writes and how they can just come together and make all these different instruments come to be one united thing. And that's throughout this album, but you really especially get to see it on Illumination Theory. So, wow. Let's talk about the rest of the band. We already talked about Mike Mangini. Let's talk about the rest of the band. James on vocals. His lyrical content has always been intriguing, always been interesting to listen to, whether he writes it or the other band members write it as well. But I enjoyed the lyrical content that was provided on this album from him. His voice, very high register, what you'd expect. There's some screams, there's some very beautiful singing, and overall, the voice is still there, so there's no problem there. Good job, James. John Petrucci on guitars. What do you expect? This guy's a monster. On the technical level and the more simplistic level, the fact that he can still come up with these really amazing, interesting sounding melodies, along with Jordan on keyboard, playing a huge melody together, or battling off each other, or basically Jordan's playing something and he's playing something else and it somehow matches. Whatever the case may be, or him playing by himself a solo, a heavy-hitting riff to open up a track, or basically to go from one section to the next. John Petrucci's guitar sound is epic. The man knows how to play guitar. He knows how to write all these variety of things. And this album once again showcases why he is one of the greatest guitarists of all time, probably in metal and progressive metal for sure. He is the progressive metal guitarist, in my personal opinion. He is a monster. High praise. The man is just a genius. I can't praise him enough, man. This album, it just blows me away every single time I hear a section. It doesn't matter what section, if it's simplistic or technical or what in the middle or whatever it is. The man is just a genius. Let's go to Jordan on keyboards. So the keyboards is something that has always been interesting throughout Dream Theater, but when Jordan got on board and he was playing on these different albums and finally on the self-titled, his playing has always been interesting. He can play some super fast stuff that kind of blows your mind. You have to keep repeating it back, especially when he's playing with John Petrucci, doing these melodies and basically battling off each other or going off each other and really writing an epic little moment within a track. his playing is just amazing, and he knows how to keep up with the rest of the band. The keyboards fit right along. They're not overpowering. They are exactly what you'd expect from a Dream Theater record, and Jordan once again blew my mind with all the effects and everything he was doing. His playing is just epic. Let's go to John on bass. So the bass guitar has always been a thing from Dream Theater that I've always really paid attention to, because the bass guitar really stands out on each album that I've heard. And the fact is that, man, the bass guitar is intense. There's a lot of moments where I'm listening, and then John will go from one thing, playing with the rest of the band, to basically playing a little bass part over here, or he's up in the front. There's some parts throughout this album, he's up in the front, in your face, playing a really interesting bass part, or really basically playing something completely different that you really have to pay attention to go, oh, that's different, oh, and you got to keep listening. His bass guitar tone and the sound of his bass is very powerful. It's what you'd expect, and his playing is just intense and the craziest ever, and man, I just can't give enough praise. I wish there was more of him on this album. I wish there was more parts where he was standing out, but for the parts he did and for what I could hear, for what he's playing, man, the man is a monster. The rest of the band is too. Mike Mangini, already talked about, but once again, epic. Overall, this album in the band sounds amazing. They're tight, there's no loose ends there, and this album is just crazy. It has so many things that you can attach to and love and really respect for this band. And really, after hearing maybe the first 2 or 3 tracks, I was anticipating the next release. I can't wait to hear more from them, because they really shine. They are the #1 band, in my personal opinion, in progressive metal today. And they're going to continue to be that band for as long as they can, because you know, the age they're at now and how many albums they're in, the fact that they can still come up with these really interesting, crazy songs, and the fact they come up with a 22-minute track that stands out and blows your mind, and they can still do that after all these albums they put out and all these things they've done, that shows true musicianship. So overall, this album is a 9.5 out of 10. It's so close to a 10. I'm just amazed. I praise this album so much, and I can't wait for it to officially release so I can go buy it myself and love it and cherish it. So that's my review, guys. I'm Chainsaw. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, like the video. And if you want to see more, click my name or subscribe to see more. Let me know in the comment section what's your favorite track. Like I said, mine is Illumination Theory. So thank you guys for watching again. See ya.